Today's guests are living proof that when you combine deep expertise with real-world experience, you get something pretty special. Emma Cowan and Julie Patching-Ellis are the co-founders of Team Wellness, a workplace well-being partner on a mission to fix what's broken in the corporate wellness space. Between them, they bring over 45 years of expertise in HR leadership, fitness, health, coaching, and education. Emma's journey has taken her through 25 years of senior HR leadership across the FMCG, manufacturing, retail, food distribution, and local government markets. She's an MCIPD accredited HR consultant and an insights discovery licensed practitioner, a habits for health coach, a mind gym coach, and a genuine workplace wellness specialist. Julie has spent over 20 years running her successful fitness business, Strictly Fitness, working with schools, workplaces, and communities to deliver group fitness, Pilates, dance, and specialist support for those living with Parkinson's. Together, they've built Team Wellness into a one-stop shop for workplace wellness, delivering everything from employee well-being strategies and surveys to cutting-edge coaching and workshops, and helping companies move from firefighting burnout to creating a culture where people genuinely thrive. And for people who are in sales listening, I get it. You're under constant pressure to hit targets, juggle clients, and always stay on. But that comes at a cost. This conversation is packed with practical insights to help you protect your well-being, avoid burnout, and perform at the highest level without sacrificing your health in the process. Emma, Julie, welcome to the You've Got Sales podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's going to be fun. It's a really interesting subject.
It will be,
And I thought, like I said, Emma, before offline there, I was having a conversation with my partner a few days ago about this chat today, talk about workplace wellness. And she's just like, what does it actually mean though? Like, and I think it's one of those things that everybody probably talks about, definitely hears about, wants to do something about, but doesn't actually know what it means. So let's start with defining what that actually means for people.
Completely. That's a fantastic question. So really, it's a big holistic approach. It isn't one thing, contrary to popular belief. It's not like Wellness Wednesdays or free fruit on a Friday. It's looking at the whole environment that somebody works in, and it's making sure you've got things in place to help them, physically, mentally, emotionally. We've kind of broken it down into working well and feeling well, because we know if you don't feel well, then you're not going to work well. And then the reverse is true as well. So it's that whole culture, that whole environment. It is not a little silver bullet that comes along and fixes everything. But in the past, the industry has kind of tried to sell that dream to people that there is that one app that's going to suddenly make everybody feel really well, feel very engaged, have a great culture where people feel that you genuinely care about them, and they'll then stay employed with you. But we know that isn't the case, and we wanted to create the solution that we haven't seen in the industry ourselves, but wish that we always had. So we were trying to solve the problem that we could see.
And I think let's talk about the problems. So I know you've got loads of great stats that aren't actually great when you look at them at all, and a lot of them seem to be going in a negative trajectory. Can you throw some of those numbers and figures and just paint a picture of the workplace problems that are out there, how they're affecting people?
Yeah. It's really scary. I guess that the scariest one is kind of from the recent Gallup surveys, their annual surveys. They've got over 250,000 people that have been surveyed, and they've found one of their headline stats, it's 90% of people in the UK are feeling disengaged at work. That is really scary, that 90% potentially of those teams that are on these calls now are feeling disengaged, doing the minimum. The customer rings at 5:05 and they think, oh, go to voicemail. I'm not going to put the extra effort in because they don't put the extra effort in for me. Might not be too fussed if I make mistakes. Bit of a sniffle. I'm going to go off sick because what's the point? They don't care anyway, so why should I care about them? And that's what it kind of comes down to, is if you don't feel that you're cared for and that they're interested in your health and you as a person, then why are you going to feel that way about your employer? So it's a two-way thing. So that's a really scary stat, about 90% of people feeling disengaged. And the impact of that on the UK is that there's that that cost has been estimated at £257 billion a year of how much that is costing employers, which is enough to fund the whole of the NHS for that year. So it's a huge amount of cost that's been wasted. Customers that may never come to you or never stay with you, or the quality of the products may not be great if people are feeling switched off. But conversely, it's shown that if you do invest in ensuring your people are working well, feeling that they are valued as an individual and cared for, and you don't create environments that harm them, but actually help them, and you're enabling them, then there's some great stats around what that can bring. So things like, again, from the Gallup survey, it's all on our website, www.team-wellness.co.uk. Just get that one in there. Things like 10% increased customer loyalty, 18% increased high productivity. Absence can drop down by 78%. And all these, of course, have got big costs attached to them. They're all commercial figures there. Your turnover can drop down by 51%. So there's some real big commercial numbers there that are showing that this isn't a pink and fluffy HR thing, or, well, why should we care about employees' health? What's that got to do with us? That's a them problem, not an us problem. It will become a us problem. It will become an employer's problem if they do go off sick, can't service your customers.
Sure. Why is this getting worse though? Because as far as I'm, if you look at the workplace from where it was 20 years ago, I would say for most workplaces are probably better now, like than where they were, stuck in the grey cubicle with no one around you type of, if you've ever seen Office Space, that movie, that's
Yeah.
quite a good idea. So some things have got better. So why is this getting worse
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
people?
Yeah, totally. So the reason why it's getting worse, as you say, employers are realizing this is a commercial necessity. This is absolutely needed for the success of that business, and the employers that are thriving have got a great employer brand, and people are feeling engaged and they're staying, and things are working well. Some of the reasons are kind of a bigger picture, societal basis. So the good old COVID, bringing that one through. On the back of that, obviously everything really slowed down. So from a health perspective, you've got the highest waiting lists in 10 years. So you've got some people that are waiting years for hip replacements and other operations, which is then affecting their ability to work and affecting how engaged they'll feel at work as well. And if employers are not doing all they can to support those individuals by different duties that there may be there in place, or putting in place private medical schemes, for example, then those things are going to get worse. On the back of COVID as well, clearly that was a majorly stressful time. I can't say the furlough word without coming out in, in like shudders. That was really stressful. Looking after all things health, all things payroll and furlough, with an 18-month at home. That was fun. But back at that time, and that has caused a lot of stress for people financially. I know people that are still paying off debt that they needed to take out to keep their homes, and to keep their businesses still 5 years on. And the development delays that some children, teacher friends of ours, have said they're still seeing now, the developmental delays that children had that were either in school at that time, or it was critical in their development and they wasn't seeing family and friends. So there's a kind of a bigger piece around people's health, that things have slowed down in terms of the normal support they would receive through the NHS, made worse through then the stress and the impact that's come through on the back of COVID. Obviously you've got the whole, the working from home piece that changed overnight, didn't it? Teams that ousted, we didn't work from home. All of a sudden, everyone's mobilised, and you can run an entire business from home pretty much within a couple of days, mobilising all of that. So that has moved things on substantially. But I think the bigger picture hasn't. And I have seen through my 25 years, some providers in the workplace wellbeing place are not able to give the ROI of their solutions. They're not able to articulate why this is a key business issue and it's fundamental, and therefore it can stay in the pink and fluffy category, or the we'll get round to it one day category, or it's just too hard, I don't know where to look category. And well, their employees miss out as a result. It's hard, really hard for managers and HR leaders. We felt that pain firsthand, so we wanted to create the solution that we wanted.
How many companies do you see that actually embrace this thing properly?
It's increasing. For the first time over probably the last year or so, I'm seeing companies employ um, even though in workplace wellbeing leaders, workplace wellbeing managers, they're taking on folks that are workplace wellbeing ambassadors. So we're seeing for the first time there are actual dedicated roles rather than workplace wellbeing being attached to someone else's role, a HR business partner, and it's a little, keep on with that, keep it ticking over sort of thing. Send a couple of newsletters out now and then, have maybe a working group that sits and chats, and it just isn't impactful.
They
So
underestimate how much work goes into it. It's the same thing happens with recruitment, right? You have it's part of a HR person's job. You like, there's a reason why there's a 100-200 billion pound industry on it, and we do it full time because it takes more than you think. So I imagine it's people are sort of the same thing with wellness. It's just like, oh yeah, just a bit sprinkling of that. Oh, that'll do.
Tick the box.
Tick the box, sprinkler.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
That,
bring
Julie.
food in the office. Yeah, let's go. That's it.
Yeah, shows we're doing something and puts a tick in that box. Well, we've done it because we've given everyone fruit. There's a working group. They might only speak once a year, but we've got one.
Totally, exactly. It's flooded with tick boxes, sticky plasters, because people are, people are not realizing until these big studies come out and some great books are being written of that commercial gain from doing these things. It's not just doing the right thing, this is doing the profitable thing. And that's what businesses are starting to realize. So I think over the next few years, we'll see all that coming together, and then some, really good quality providers that are, coming onto the market as well. Some really great tools to see this becoming, around the leadership table topic, and that businesses know it's imperative for them to be able to have a good solution in place.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you two obviously bring different things to the table here, but those things combine really nicely. So can you just give us a little bit of a why did you start this? How did you start this? And then, just give the listeners a bit of an overview of what is it that you really do and some of the results that you can bring off the back of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my background is 25 years in various HR leadership roles, as you mentioned, from things like lead and silver manufacturing. I looked after the people that make Andrex. I spent a lot of my time covered in fluffy toilet tissue, toe tector boots. So very, familiar with that industry. I work for Kimberly-Clark Professional, who a lot of your followers will be familiar with. I work with them all the time that I worked at Kimberly-Clark. Also worked at a local authority, so our local council, worked in food distribution. So lots of different industries that I've seen HR with various hats on, some that have got money to spend on things, some that haven't. So you see it in different ways. So that's been my background. And then after 10 years, my role was made redundant just over 18 months ago now. And that gave me that moment to pause to say, right, what next? Shall I apply for a HR director role and I continue on that trajectory? Or shall I do something I feel really passionate about and that I feel there is a solution missing in the industry? So I really took that next step. And so we've been building the business over the last year and went live in March. And so, that's kind of my background of what brought me to here. During those 25 years, I always looked after, as well as kind of HR business partner roles and partnering with the business, employee health was always something that was on my responsibility as well. So always looking after the occupational health providers, private medical insurers, things like, dental cover, optical cover, all of the different insurance schemes, basically. So all things health, employee assistance programs, benefits sat with me during that time. So I was pitched at via many different providers telling me about their offerings, and would just come away thinking, that's just not what I want. Ideally, there would be a one-stop shop where that busy business leader, that busy business owner, HR leader that is stacked up to the brim, that is majorly stressed out themselves, is able to have a home for all things workplace wellbeing. They know what it is. They've got the stats on there about why it's important. So it's easy for them to put their business case together, and we can help with that. You've got all of the solutions that are there in one place. They're completely bespoke to you. The tools that are used are totally rooted in science with very, very clear ROI attached to them, delivered by experts. There's lots of folks in this industry, because it's not regulated yet, the wellbeing industry, that are life coaches. That's fine. They can be life coaches if they want, but that doesn't make them a psychologist, a nutritionist, an employment law specialist, a personal trainer. It doesn't make them that. But we've made sure that the individuals we've worked with all of them throughout our careers, and they are qualified professional experts in their field that have lots of years under their belt of being able to deliver great, credible solutions, and we've been the customers of that. So we've got those individuals help us to deliver our bespoke solutions to our customers.
Let's just touch upon those solutions a little bit more. Like who are some of these practitioners? What do they do? Because it sounds very varied what they do. So give us a bit of a flavour.
Yeah, so what happens if we think of like coming in the front end, we then do a deep dive into that organisation to say, well, what's working well? What have you got in place? What isn't? What's your overall business plan? What's your people plan that's attached to that? What is your turnover? What are your absence figures like? How engaged are your individuals? So we gather all of that information in. And another element that we then do is a survey, an online survey, working with an amazing company that provide all of this software, that then do a deep dive, lots of big question set, understanding what are the things that work and well, what are not, from your employees' perspective, because people around that leadership table may have a very, very different view of what it is that's motivating people there on the shop floor, driving, the delivery trucks, whatever it may be. They'll have a different view. So we get that data from your people to say, what is helping them, harming them, what they love to see. Some of those changes may be really small, but to them it feels massive. So let's get under the skin of that. From that, we can then create a whole plan of what things we would suggest would then fix the problem, and what those business benefits are to you of doing that, and create a roadmap for the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, beyond, from using our different providers. So for example, if that survey comes back to say our leaders are promoted overnight but are never given any leadership training, great, we've got providers that can give you extensive leadership development programs or accredited programs. They may say there's no support in terms of mental health. There's no one here that we can go to. We've got providers that can give mental health ambassador program, qualify. It's a qualification. It's all accredited, level 5 qualification in that. People say we're just really exhausted. We can't sleep, and we're really struggling. It's affecting us. Those things affect us on a day-to-day basis. We've got sleep experts. They're ex-NHS consultants that are massive experts in this field that can provide those solutions. So whatever it is that people are struggling with, they might say, I haven't got time to exercise. Well, Julie's got an incredible bank of materials that they can then tap into, that they can do that in their own timings. So we've got all those solutions there. Over 50 experts in every type of work well, feel well scenario. Conflict resolution is one. Culture, that is a massive one. Probably one of the most important ones, actually. It's not these little bits here and there. It's about having that culture. There's no point saying people are our most important asset if the culture is toxic, if that leader that's bullying people gets away with it and is allowed to carry on working there. That will destroy the engagement. That will destroy the service you're giving to your customers.
Yeah.
So that's a key one. So we've got culture experts that can go and transform. They've got years experience with some massive household names transforming cultures. So it's truly, the solutions are truly as unique as to what that organisation is. It's not a one size fits all, because that's not life.
Depends what's happening in there. Yeah, it's like a human with a disease or a problem. Like you need to analyze, see what the problem is, and find the solution. Right? There's no point telling someone to fix their diet if it's already perfect, or
Yeah.
someone to go running if they've got a broken leg. Like it's depends what we sort of need, isn't it? And one thing,
Individual.
individual,
Completely.
yeah, case by case. It's
Yeah.
and
Actually, so that's been
and
my journey up to here. And Julie, it'd be good to hear about your journey as well
yeah,
up to this point too, because
yeah. Let's do
you're
that.
on the health
Yeah, yeah.
side, the work
On the
well
health side.
side,
Yeah,
the feel well side. You're the feel well side.
Yes. So obviously, as you said, for lots of years' experience, I've been teaching people of different ages since I was 19. So I'm 54 now, so that's a few years. And then built my own company, say Strictly Fitness, about 20 years ago. Not just in fitness and health clubs. I've worked in colleges, I've worked in schools. And interestingly, teaching the teachers and the children in schools. You know, I started teaching PE in various schools, and then all of a sudden it was like, can you do something for us teachers? And obviously they are the ones probably that need it more than the children. Because particularly in primary schools, obviously there's a great provision for PE. It's getting better. It's obviously knocked right back. Then all schools were under a school sports partnership up until certain members of government, shall we say, the previous government came in and scrapped those school sports partnerships. So then I was part of having to find funding for, those children still having various things, not just football or hockey or cricket. It's about opening up these different areas for children and the teachers that they wouldn't normally have access to. So that's sort of a background of, say, crossing a wide array, coming into contact with a wide array of people, situations, circumstances, say everything from private health clubs, everyone working really hard in their matching sports gear and things like that. I've always taught in the community, and that has always been me, and that's why people come. You know, a lot of people exercise because of it's being a posh sports club and a great coffee shop afterwards. How much time did they spend in the studio or the gym compared to the coffee shop? My lips are sealed. So there's a wide array of why people exercise, how people exercise, and that's from children all the way up to adults. So fast forward for me to COVID, really. Obviously, that had such a dramatic effect on anybody teaching face to face like I have for many, many years. Luckily, as I say, I did have a community aspect to my business, which really saved me because obviously all the big clubs had to close down and they weren't part of my email list. So fortunately, I did have an email list of my own participants who had been with me for many years. And having a very techie son, I was able to jump online within 2 days of going into lockdown. And like many other people, it was in my dining room because it had a wooden floor, had the most moved dining room table in Kent because it was moved out and moved back in again every day with spotlights and the dog running in between a legs, bums and tums session, you know. And I think we all had such a steep learning curve, didn't we, for COVID? And as much as we were all gaining new skills, what was happening to our mental well-being was quite the opposite. So people were becoming disengaged and the priority wasn't ourselves. You know, it was us being thrown into a very unusual situation that none of us not only had ever experienced, but you couldn't even envisage. And I'm sure you're the same as me, as when you look back at that time, you still can't quite believe what we were going through. Now, I couldn't hug my parents and, you know, my son had to move out because his now wife was a teacher. So he had to be in their, what was it, bubbles they called it, I think, didn't they? So, and I think that's where a lot of problems occurred. I really do. From, you know, being in the industry that I am in and have been for many years, the difference in people's motivation to look after themselves was huge. And then fortunately, obviously, as COVID went on, we were allowed out for an hour a day for a walk. And so then I started recruiting people from all over the country. It was Scotland and Gloucester. And so first of all, I was doing it for free, just like a walk-in session on the spot, walking up and down if people didn't have a lot of space. You know, people living in flats, where were they supposed to go other than walk around the block and come back again? They needed something in their own space that they could do to start them thinking about themselves again. So again, fast forward to now, I made the big decision after COVID not to go back to any private health clubs and go it alone, so to speak. So I've continued to teach teachers. I'm involved with, as you already said, David, Parkinson's UK. We actually got special permission to go online from Parkinson's UK. So that was great because obviously movement is very important to people that suffer with Parkinson's disease. So we managed to continue their wellness journey, if you like, because they've obviously got very different challenges. And so, yeah, so it's just started to evolve again. Obviously, lots of people, as soon as things were back to normal for the final time, we thought they'd be back to normal and that would be it. But obviously, we jumped in and out of lockdown a few times, didn't we? But once it was back to normal, dare I say, well, normal in the fitness world was me having to sellotape boxes onto village hall floors and only allowing 6 people in my class, not 20. So then, you know, people had to take turns coming to classes, and then all of a sudden it started to filter down that people wanted to be together with like-minded people. And, you know, doing the work that Emma and I have done for Team Wellness really reminds me of the time that we were coming out of COVID in all areas, not just corporate, not just in the community, but I think we sort of suddenly realised we needed to be together. We needed to be involved in things that we enjoyed and that were good for us and made us feel better. So, and as Emma said, feel better, work better. Which way round is it? You know, and I think it's a vice versa thing. I really do, because, or a chicken and egg situation. So coming up to date now, for the last 10 years, I have been working with wellbeing people. And one of the projects that I've been working on originally was called Match Fit, which was funded by Maidstone Borough Council. And it was a free programme for people. And at that point, it was more to do with what their BMI was. If their BMI was a certain amount or over that, there were lots of advertising for people to come to the Gallagher Stadium. Obviously, it's a popular thing in Maidstone. People are very... as I say, very staunch believers in Maidstone United, you know. So to see that there was a free programme going on for wellness and looking after themselves, obviously the people are there for the football, so which is why it was called Match Fit, to try to bring these people who are already part of a community to start thinking about themselves as well about the football, as well as the football. That went really, really well for a number of years, and then unfortunately we lost the funding. I think I was only saying to Emma yesterday, one of our most successful 10-week periods, as it was then, there was a weight loss of 89 kilograms, which was huge, as you can imagine, and very, very successful. But nonetheless, we still lost the funding. We had a period of time after that where obviously the world was getting back to normal. And now it's called Habits for Health. It was called Recalibrate, amazing program that I've been teaching for a long, long time, based on different pillars of well-being, mindset, nutrition, movement and lifestyle. And it's a 12-week program now, and now it's funded by the National League Trust. So we're sort of playing with the big guns now. We try to do 2 or 3 programs each year that, say, still run at Maidstone United. People are invited in again. When it was Match Fit, it was men only. Now it's a mixed program, which I think actually has a different feel to it. And it's nice to see men and women, particularly in that space of knowing they want to do something, not just weight loss, but knowing what they want to do something for themselves. And men and women are unusually coming together, because there's not many men that will go to a legs, bums, tums class. There's quite a few that would go to a body pump class, and that again is a mixture of men and women. But it's nice to see these people coming together as complete strangers, and within a couple of weeks we build up a fabulous rapport. We do a wellbeing age assessment on week 1 and week 12, so they've got some measure themselves of how they're doing. I use, when I'm teaching the fitness element, so there are 2 elements to it. There's a fitness element. I try to teach them something different every week. So particularly if they're non-exercisers, during those 12 weeks, they will find something that they think, well, actually, I quite enjoyed that. I don't do any exercise at the moment, and everything is sort of, You know, it's so in the media now, isn't it, about fitness and health and exercise. It's a little bit flooded and people don't know what half of them are. And if I said, right, we're going to do a lit session, what's a lit session? Well, it's low intensity interval training. Everything doesn't have to be high intense. You know, there's a variety of things you can do. It doesn't mean you're like, you know, dashing around and can't breathe and all of that. So it's very much prescribed, considering the people that I have in front of me. So whether that's Pilates, dance, it might be a legs, bums, tums. I've had the men doing legs, bums, tums before and they loved it and didn't realise how difficult it was, all the way through to a bit of ballroom dancing and Pilates, which is a massive buzzword in the industry at the moment. I'm sure you've heard Pilates and reformer Pilates bounced around recently. So the idea is, alongside habits for health, firstly with the fitness part of it, they find something they enjoy and then they have a takeaway that they can take with them. And for me, really trying to make them realise it's a simple thing. It doesn't have to be a complicated programme of exercise that they do. As Emma said, I've got a YouTube channel. I've got a huge bank of videos, obviously from the COVID days. And I've carried on teaching online. So I record everything that I teach and then I can send out, again, bespoke solutions, whether it be a 6-week Pilates class or a 6-week resistance training class, you know, to these people, depending on their requirements. So it brings us right back to Toon Wellness. Even if I was just saying, right, okay, I'm going to prescribe a fitness element to what you would like from us. You know, when we go back to Habits for Health, we also do the 12-week program where there are 12 videos. They're about between, I don't know, 7 and 12 minutes each. And every week is a different subject. So everything you can think of, from hydration to nutrition, hunger versus nutrients is one of them, phone use, sleep. So, and I'm very, very passionate about the Habits for Health program. It's because I've been teaching it for such a long time. I've seen these successes and I've seen these changes in people with their self-awareness is a big one for well-being. It really is, because we all just plod on in our routine, don't we? And we do end up, well, I go downstairs and I have a cup of tea or a big strong coffee to try and wake me up. As David drinks a glass of water, very well done. So our first video is all about hydration. And we try to encourage people to, instead of rushing downstairs and, oh, I've got to have my coffee fix and I need that caffeine to wake myself up, to just upgrade your habits. And we don't say, you know, we don't want you to change everything. We want you to upgrade things. So it doesn't feel such a scary big mountain to climb. So you can imagine over the 12 weeks, after each video, we have what's called a 1% wellness experiment. So, for instance, with the hydration experiment, we say, right, okay, have a glass of hot water or a cup of hot water in the morning instead of your morning coffee, or have a bottle of water that you take round with you and try and, you know, drink as much as you can. As soon as you see it, pick it up and have a sip, which many of us do these days, or try and drink 200 millilitres of water at various intervals throughout your day. Then the following week, we reflect on how their experiment went. And it's normally very successful. And we always set up a WhatsApp group when we're teaching Habits for Health. And you see little messages cropping up. Well, I've put lemon in mine today. Well, I've put a bit of ginger in mine or a bit of turmeric. And well, how did that, you know? So it's all about sharing these best experiences in how they've upgraded their habits together. So, of course, I'm sure you can see how that transfers into the corporate world absolutely so well, because most people work together. And as we know, the longer you spend with somebody, the more you take on their habits. So if you started working opposite somebody and they go, oh, yeah, do you want another coffee? Oh, okay, then go on. I know I've had 4 today already. We take on each other's habits, don't we? You know, it's like if, you know, your other half comes home and, you know, says maybe different words to what they're used to saying. You think, where's that come from? Are you working with somebody that says those phrases? And it's the same with things we eat, things we drink. You know, you could be sitting across somebody that has salad every day for lunch. So it could be the reverse in that you're taking on somebody else's good habits, not the not so good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of the 12 weeks, everybody has had such a huge education, but in bite-sized pieces. So it doesn't feel overwhelming because we do 1 week, we reflect on that week and their experiment, and then we start another subject. But at any time, they can go into their own account and look back at any videos. They think, oh, I'm not sure I really understood that. So as well as the support of the WhatsApp group and myself and the other lady that we run it together, they've got the videos that they can go back and revisit.
How do you, for me, just thinking about this for like a big organization, let's just say, I don't know, maybe you've got 500 people, all scattered across the country, all the delivery drivers up to the CEO, you know, people who've been there 30 years versus, you know, your 21-year-old grad coming in and everyone in between, right? How, even just on the movement piece, like how can you make sure that that's deployed for all those diverse groups of people and that they are engaged, but also actually stay accountable with it and keep it going? Because it's, like I said, it's all well and good doing it for a month or 12 weeks or 6 months, but it's only going to work if you can keep that going. So how can you keep a company of 500 plus people sort of doing these things, and how can you deploy it for all those different groups of individuals?
Well, our plan, and as it has worked for me previously, you know, I've worked with a few different charities whose staff, you know, do an awful lot.
So yeah, there's different options. There's face-to-face options. There's online options. So people would be able to get those videos or catch up if that isn't, you know, at a time that's suitable for them. Also, we'd be thinking about, so for example, with lots of sales folks that may be driving, so we'd be thinking about what exercises specifically would be really helpful for them. There's no point recommending something that they're not going to be able to do. What little small changes, that 1% thing, what could you do in terms of your posture when you're driving, when you get out of that car? What little things could you do that could have an impact on your health relative to the roles that you do? So because it is a face-to-face or it is an online format, it's all online as well. The system is incredible that they've created, that you've got all the modules, there's videos on there, so there's self-learning modules as well. What I really love about the program and our other tools that we've got is they're universal. Everything is built on science. And it's all backed up in fact. So if we're saying you need to drink water as soon as you wake up, it's then saying why. So you understand, you're coming from a point of understanding, not, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, because this Instagram page tells me why. No, science tells you why. This is important and the impact it has on your health. It sounds like Julie's sound might have gone. Can't hear you, Julie. Yeah, so it's kind of because it is on that solid scientific base, it is applicable to everybody. There are various different delivery formats, and we'd make it relevant to those individuals. Also, because we've got that group of 50 experts, one of them is a health and safety consultant. So we'll be able to look at any specific concerns. If someone's lifting a lot during the day, what things would they need to consider in that workplace? If they're sitting for a lot of the time, what could we do to alleviate any health issues that is raised by sitting? And there are lots of issues that sitting creates as well. So, you know, we can completely bespoke it. That's what we
Interestingly,
wanted to create.
hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
You're back in, Julie. Yeah.
So sorry about that. Yeah, so as Emma touched on sitting, the wellbeing age assessment that I mentioned that we do on week 1 and week 12 has actually all different questions, and one of them is about sitting. And so, right, how long do you sit continuously and without a break? And people, when they actually have to think about that, are really shocked. They're like, oh my goodness, I sit down for 4 hours without getting up.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And we say that's for your commute, for your work day, and your leisure time in the evening. And it's a bit of a shock to them. And sometimes that's a good thing because then they want to change it. And
sometimes you just need to be told, don't you? And you need for someone to go, right, here's a problem, here's why. Because our bodies are smart, aren't they? Like our bodies will adapt to what we're putting it through. And if you're sitting down all day, it's going to adapt to sitting down all day. And then as
Yeah.
soon as you start walking, it's going to start hurting. And then if you start running, it's going to be worse. So
We're habitual creatures, so as you say, we do slip into, whether it's coming down in the morning, having that coffee, or having the coffee with a chocolate digestive. Yep, that's a habit. If you do it for, what do they say? If you repeat something, I think it's 66 times, it becomes a new habit, and it's part of your
digestive's
makeup.
only one time to become a habit with the digestive. You don't need 66. Then you're done for after that.
And not just one digestive either.
No, it's never just one.
No.
You have 66 in one setting. There you go.
Yeah. But interestingly, the sitting element comes really nicely into making people understand throughout the program that we have two different modules. One is for movement and one is for exercise, because they are two different things. Movement is getting up from your chair, going to the loo, putting the kettle on. I mean, in the old days, when we all sit and watch television in the evening, we used to be able to get up in the adverts and go and put the kettle on. But if you do watch the advert, a lot of us record things or watch other channels, like Netflix or many other providers now for what we watch, aren't there? And so, of course, there's no adverts. If anything, you're glued and you just press next episode, and it's even if it's late, you think it's not always a cliffhanger, isn't it? We're unfortunately we're super glued to Grey's Anatomy. We've been watching it for a long time, and I'm not sure if I recommend it or not, because it's always a cliffhanger in the middle of brain surgery, and you're like, oh no, but it's 11 o'clock, So and that's that obviously then splays out into actually you're not getting enough sleep. But not only you're not getting enough sleep, you're not getting enough movement, because you're sitting watching 3 episodes of Grey's Anatomy and just running to the loo and back again because you don't want to miss it or you don't want to pause it. So exercise is obviously something that is very much prescribed by the government. If you were to Google how much exercise should I do, you'll see it's normally the American Council of Sports Medicine, so ACSM, that set these guidelines, and they're quite easily accessible worldwide, and just a good basis really if somebody wanted to improve their exercise. But with regards to thinking about their movement and their movement patterns, it's things like if you're sitting in a chair, try not to push down on the arms as you stand up. It's about, and that's one of the things I do with my Parkinson's participants. I say, okay, roll forward, place your hands on your thighs, then bring yourself gently up to sitting. To standing. So I've got it sit to stand. But it's the same for all of us. It's too easy to sit down and you probably cross your legs one way and then cross your legs the other way and then do a bit of a shift. Now just get up and have a little walk in the garden or round the block. That's movement, and the idea is that we try to ask people, say, right, okay, set a timer for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, get out of your chair. Have a wander, not just for 2 minutes, but just have a wander, step outside. And then again, it goes into the benefits of vitamin D, being outside, and, and then that leaks into the circadian rhythm. So it's such a well-tailored program to encompass every area of our well-being. And, obviously Emma's explained about all the stats, and I don't think there is any area that we don't cover, which is why it's so good for, say, just plucking out the air, the people that I've worked, say, teachers in primary schools, people with Parkinson's, nurses who work for charities for very poorly children. So you can imagine they don't really look after themselves. They give everything to these children. I work with a charity called We Are Beams, and they have a messy dash, as they call it, each year up in Dartford, where there's powdered paint, and it's all raising money for We Are Beams. And it's such a fabulous event. So I've done the warm-up for the last 3 years, I think it is. And then everybody does, we've obviously got lots of the kids in wheelchairs and all the nurses are there. So I've been doing that, and then they contacted me and said, could you do a program for us? So we did the Habits for Health, but aside of that, I did a 6-week exercise program for them from complete beginners. And then if they couldn't join us for the live, they then got the video to the next week, and then we did week 2. So it's making it as accessible for everybody, as well as easy to understand, that we're trying to reach as many people as possible with the same program because it's so varied.
Yeah, sure, sure. One thing as you both been speaking about, which I think there won't be any metrics on this. So this is just what I've experienced as a recruiter, is if you can adopt this, the when it comes to attracting people for your business, you will get so much better people applying for your company. You'll have a much better choice of people to hire from,
Yep.
and you could save yourself hundreds of thousands in recruitment fees. And just a quick story just to illustrate what I'm talking about, because I've been through this with a company before who've not adopted anything to your degree, but they've gone down this path a little bit, and what it's done for their business. There's a company I work with who's a small business, only 100 or so people, been going for 75 years, and the company was in a really bad state, losing retention of staff, like you said, really bad. People didn't want to stay. The work environment was all over the show. It'd been around so long. It had just, turned into a Frankenstein over 75 years, and it had sort of kind of fallen to pieces. Last 6 years, they changed it completely. And when I first started recruiting for that company, I had to work my butt off to try and get people to be interested in it, because there wasn't anything that you look at and go, I want to work there. Like, you just looked at it and you were like, that looks like an old kind of rubbish company, and looks just kind of crap. Old website. But more importantly, there was no benefits for people joining. And they were one of these companies, kind of what you've touched about before, Emma. We care about our staff. We really care about our staff.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the evidence in the benefits of joining there, it was like statutory pension, statutory holiday, nothing else.
Yeah.
And like below market rate salaries. And you're like, well, you can't say that you care all in your adverts and then have nothing to back it up with, because guess what? People aren't going to buy it. And if people don't buy that, people are going to read it and go, nah, on to the next, because there is literally 10,000 other companies who've got the same role, recruiting for the same position,
Completely.
who are either paying the same as you or better. So you've got to try and make yourself look more attractive in some way, shape or form. I had to always headhunt all their roles. Headhunting takes, as you know, a lot of time to headhunt people. I had to headhunt everything. So it was like very time intensive on me.
Yes.
Last 6 years, they've started implementing some of the things that you're talking about here. For example, they've got a free financial advisor on site, helping people with their mortgages and stuff like that. They've got mental health coaches. They've got they increased the holiday to 28 days plus bank holidays, and it increases to 33 days over time. Loads of like enhanced maternity, parental leave. If your dog dies, you get a day off. Like loads of these little things, which now evidence the fact that they actually care about their staff. Like it's the doing the thing, not just saying the thing like it's useless. And over that 6 year period, my job's got easier, because now when I recruit for them, I almost don't have to do any headhunting at all. I just do the adverts now do their own thing, because the way that we do the adverts is we basically just talk about all the stuff that they give to their staff, and then at the end it's like a bit about the role. And people always say to me, they read it, they're like, this just looks like an amazing place to work. Like, this looks amazing. I'm not even really looking for a job at the moment. I was just on Indeed for 10 minutes just looking around, and now that company looks amazing. They're doing things that nobody else is doing.
Yeah.
So what that's meant is now, over the last 6 years, their staff retention, I don't know the facts, but it's gone down at least by 75%. It's much, and that's because they're getting better people to work in the company. The average level of the person coming in the business is higher, because they're attracting better people, because it's just more attractive to work there.
Yeah.
And now we're in a space where we're going to start coaching them to just write the adverts on their own using our knowledge, so they don't have to use me anymore. And that's going to save them. It's going to save them a lot. They use us a lot. So it's going to save them tens and tens of thousands of pounds every year on not having to use a recruiter.
Yeah.
Because they're finally showing that it's a place where people actually want to work.
Completely.
You know, and
100%.
and it's not hard to do that, because most companies aren't doing a single thing. Like the vast majority aren't doing anything. So even if you can do a little bit, and you can then articulate it, which is what we do with them. We talk about, for example, with the financial advisor. Oh, I think we might have. Well, back in. Yeah. Sorry. So for the financial advisor piece, when we're doing like roles for people who are maybe a bit more experienced, this financial advisor is going to help you manage your money better. Start looking at your pension. Start saving for that first house. What's that first house going to mean for you and your family? Like, takes the stress out of that situation. We give them examples where these workplace well-being things have actually impacted the staff, and that's what people actually relate to.
Yes.
When people read job advertisements, they're looking for one thing: what's in it for them.
Yeah.
They don't care about the company's establishment date and all that crap. They want to know how this company's going to make my life better. That's what they want to know, right? And so if you can articulate these things, you could get so much better people and never have to use evil recruiters like me. As much as people complain about it, you can just make your company more attractive to work for, and then you don't have to use me, all right? So, but then getting it on paper and showing people what you can do, and their business is going to completely change, and it is completely changed. So there's no metrics around that, around attracting people, but just from a recruiter's perspective, it would have a huge impact on the quality of the people that you bring just through the door, let alone the retention and the productivity of the people already in the business.
Yeah. Oh,
It'd be
completely
huge.
and utterly. And what a great turnaround, and what a great story that's showing that true impact by them showing their team members, we care about you. We're here to make your lives better, not worse. And then you'll make our business better and not worse. It's that two-way relationship, isn't it? It's
Totally.
showing,
It
it's
makes people difficult to leave. Like, I'm not saying it's perfect environment. Like, I know some people in there that aren't, they're not happy about everything, but they always say the same thing. It's really difficult to leave now because I can't go anywhere else that will give me what this company is giving me, because they care about me. Even though I'm maybe not happy, they do care about me, and I can see they're trying to make things better for me.
Completely.
And I don't think I'm going to get that from many other places. So your retention rates go up quite a bit.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? Because otherwise it's this vicious circle, and I don't know if it's the case there in terms of the business that you've been, massively assisting and being a big part of that transformation. But if you're saying these one things, oh yeah, people really matter, doing the absolute opposite. Now those employees and ex-employees, they're going to go on Glassdoor. They're going to tell everybody why they shouldn't touch you with a barge pole. So that then affects your employer brand. That is there out there in the public for people to see. What does it look and feel like being employed by XYZ company? Oh, I'll give them a steer then. That's not great, or the opposite. And also then your customers, if they're then getting a shoddier service, the quality's not there, the customer service isn't there, they just go on to Trustpilot, or they go and tag you when they're going on to one of the social media platforms and berating you for your service. It's so public now that places they haven't got anywhere to hide. They need to make sure they are not saying one thing and doing another, because people can see that straight out there on the internet. And their employees won't stay, and they won't go the extra mile. And you may think, oh, it's going to cost me lots of money by bringing financial advisor in. No, actually, if you can show that employee how to make the most of their salary, how they can be even more tax efficient, you're entitled to this particular family credit or whatever it may be, or do you know you can save money on your weekly food shop? You've got a 4% discount by being on our benefits portal. If you've got all these different pieces, you can then work out of how much that would equate to as a pay rise. So in fact, you're not saying, that person's not saying, oh, I can't afford to stay, I need to go, I need another £5,000 more to be able to live the life that I want to live. Well, in fact, if you're helping them to work for all these different things, or you can switch to this mortgage rate, or you can do all these different things, then straight away they go, wow, isn't that fantastic? I don't need to leave. Isn't that great service my employer's given me? And in fact, they then feel they've got more money in their pocket by you giving that extra support, where they could have gone 20% extra fees to then go and replace them, perhaps. All the rest of the team taking up the slack of having that gap there, and then the customer, all that knowledge has walked out the door, and the customer sat there going, oh, where is my new account manager? I don't know. I've not heard from them, and oh, maybe I should go elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It goes deep. It affects everything. It affects it all. I mean, there's one thing that I get very frustrated with, and I try and call it out when I deal with companies like this. If we just look at, obviously, a lot of companies now want to hire more women, right? Okay, that's fine. You've got to give women a reason to join your business,
Yeah.
right? For a lot of the companies that I recruit for are very male heavy,
Hmm.
and because the industries are not something women would usually naturally be attracted to. If you look at fashion, there's a lot more women working in fashion, or HR, or anything to do with people usually has got a lot of women working in it. If I'm working for an old dusty construction company, there's probably not many ladies that want to work for that, really. So companies come to me and they sometimes ask me straight up, you need to find us more women, which I can't do, obviously. That's just, I got to find the best people for you. I'm sorry, like, doesn't matter who that is. But what I say to them is like, why should a woman join you?
Mm.
Why?
Yeah.
What are you offering that could speak to women to want to be part of your business?
Mm.
And one thing that really frustrates me is that people, it's kind of going back to what we said about we really care about our staff, that people say the thing, but them actually wanting to do the thing is something very different. Like if you look at just a simple thing, something that even my partner's looked at, even if you offer just enhanced paternity leave or maternity leave,
Yeah.
is that going to have an effect on the amount of female applicants you're going to get? It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. It doesn't take a genius. And if you have a workplace which shows that it really cares about people, I'm guessing more women are engaged by that more than men, because I think women are more aware of what's going on around them. Blokes are like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, no, everything's all right. We just don't really know what's going on most of the time. But if you had a really fantastic well-being program, you would actually be showing those people why they should join your company rather than you just saying it,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of we support a diverse whatchamacallit, but then you don't see any action behind it. It's like, well, it just means nothing
Yeah,
now.
completely. And it's going back on some of those things. It's going back to the drawing board, because there may be the structure of the roles is set up in a way that naturally excludes people and you don't realise it. So
Mm,
somewhere I used to work, they had it was a food distributor, and they had very set runs. If we'd send our delivery trucks out, between this time and this time, they're set routes. Is you need to be there for that whole route. That is how it works, and that would exclude folks that needed to go and do school runs, etc., and really early starts in the morning. So there was some, working parents were saying that just isn't going to work for me, because I need to be dropping my child off to school, but you need me to be starting at like 5 or 6 a.m. and
mm,
I'm not back till this time, and you can't guarantee I'm going to be back in time, so I'm going to then miss the end school run and then my kids are not going to know who I am. So it was then going, well, do we need to do it in that way? So could we create some routes that run between like 10 and 2, for example,
mm,
and then have a whole an opening up of different people that could come and apply for those roles, and that's what they did, and that was
mm,
successful. So it's kind of saying, yes, we've done it this way all throughout those years, but do we need to keep doing that task, have that role structured in that way, or could it be
mm.
done in a different way that opens it up? We need to make sure that we've got a lot of folks that maybe might have retired, might want to come back into the workplace. Now, what can we do to structure roles in different ways to get them back in? Then we don't want to lose their knowledge, skills, and experience. Where if we've got delivery vehicles that are going out for that amount of time and that's that or nothing, no, yes, you're going to have a massive turnover, as they did. So it's looking at all these different things, blank sheet of paper, and can we change how we do things? And we wanted to make sure we was really diverse with our offering as well, because otherwise, yes, it kind of might just meet one person's needs. We've got men's mental health specialists, we've got females mental health and physical health specialists there as well. So we've got all different types of solutions, because we know every company is different and they need to be treated in that unique way so that it really is powerful for them.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I always call whenever I recruit for a role, I always say I'm going to put up your own personalized bat signal in the sky. So what I do is like for every role that I work on, you're looking for like the most beneficial part of joining your company, right?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, just the name on the door isn't enough to get people interested anymore. Those days
Yeah.
are gone. Just the fact that you pay an average salary isn't enough anymore to get people. You'll get somebody, but will you get the caliber and those engaged people that you talk about? No. Why would they when there's companies that are offering so much more than yours are? It's not going to just happen because you want it to. You know, that's like me just saying that I'm just going to get Angelina Jolie next week to be attracted to me. Like, it's just not going to happen. All right, I have to give a very good reason for that to happen. It's so.
Can all
But companies,
dream, David.
we can all dream, exactly. We can all dream, but just for me saying it doesn't mean it's going to be true. And I think a lot of companies are still in this old hat way of the fact that we just exist and we pay a salary is enough. And then they wonder why all these things happen on the back end. It's like, no. If you put the bat signal up in the sky that we really care about our staff and you'll be engaged, you'll be looked after, guess who's going to come to you? Guess who's going to come to you? People who want that in their life, and they will give you so much more in return.
Yeah.
If you do that, it's not rocket science at all. It's very, very simple.
No, completely. And people are
Crazy.
understanding the effects of burnout and that it completely, destroys their family lives. Who wants to go to work to be injured? Who wants to go to work to be stressed up to the eyeballs, surrounded in red tape and systems that don't work, and then taking it out on their family members, their children, cancelling events all of the time because something's gone wrong yet again because of poor mismanagement? It just destroys lives, and no one's going to want to sign up to that. And actually, some really good companies that are recognising that in order to attract that talent, people want to hear from the people that work there.
You're working there.
So you're seeing that social proof piece, aren't you?
That's what we do. We quote people. We quote them all in all of the adverts. You know, if someone's, let's just say the bat signal is progression, because obviously that's a big thing for some people. Some people want to progress really far. We get examples of Jane, who progressed to this level over 3 years, and now she's doing this. Now her life's changed, and what does that mean? She's now bought her first house, and That people want to hear about the people that work there. They don't care about the faceless man.
No.
That is just, you should work here because it's exciting, it's dynamic. What the hell does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
No.
You need real. We always try and coach companies is that you've got to give evidence. If you've got a statement, if you're so great to work for, you have to back that up with evidence. Otherwise, people aren't going to believe it. It's not difficult, really.
No.
I mean, it's obviously really important from a recruitment perspective so that you can say, like, this is what they've got to offer. But it's like my husband. I mean, although he's a contractor, he works in the same place. And they've had 2 years, didn't get a new contract last year. They just extended his existing contract. They had 2 years up until the end of March, no contracts available. They haven't sorted out the new contracts, so they just extended it by another month. So here we are, however many days away from the end of May. I mean, he's got a contract, but not with a rate increase. So they say, we'll extend it again to the end of May, and it will get done. So we're 10 or 12 days away from the end of May, and he's still not got a contract. And it's been there for like 10 years. It's a really specialist environment he works in. And now people are starting to approach my husband about going to work for them. Because he is, it is a stressful environment. There is lots of red tape because that's the nature of where he works. But all of that, coupled with the fact that they can't even give him a good contract to sort of dangle the carrot and say, please stay with us. He's now feeling like stressed, disengaged. And it's like,
undervalued. Do they care? This is what you feel like. Do they care? Like, and also, are they going to do this again?
Well, and this is the thing. He said, I'm a contractor. I said, but they still, you've been a contractor with this company for quite a while, doing slightly different tasks, obviously ticking various other boxes. But I'm like, well, how can they treat you like that? They want you there because of your expertise and experience, but they're not giving you their side of the bargain. You're working really hard, fulfilling your duties, your responsibilities. And he definitely is one of these people that goes over and above, but they can't even give him a contract. Yeah. So of course
it's
now,
like being in a relationship, right? Everything's a balance, and you both have to give each other, as much as you take.
Yes,
if you're
absolutely.
in a marriage or a relationship, and you're the one giving 95% of it, it doesn't feel good at all, and it ain't going to last. And I see it all the time. Like I just said a minute ago, it's a lot of companies are saying this. You're lucky to work for us.
Yeah.
Like,
why? Why am I lucky to work for you?
There's a million other people who are out there too. Like, you don't realise that until it's too late, and then they wonder why they have these problems in it. You've got to give as much as you take, and a salary and 20 days holiday plus bank holidays
and a wellbeing package.
A
Exactly.
well-being package, something like that,
Yep.
evidence is that you really, really, really do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's super, super powerful in every single. Why would you not want more from your staff? Why would you not want to hire better people? Why would you not want them to stay longer? Why would you not want to do that?
Yeah.
It
Give
would.
them a good working environment, don't you, and know that they're cared for, because then they want to stay and they'll be more productive. Simple. It's not a
It's very
difficult thing,
simple.
is it?
Yeah.
No, no. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like everything in life, isn't it? It's all rational, but we're all irrational people dealing with this thing. And I guess a big part of it, just sort of touched on what you said before, is people are so busy in their world, aren't they? It's like, how do I now bring this on board on top of everything else? And I guess that's where you guys come in and make that process.
And to be honest, that's why Habits for Health works so, sorry to interrupt you, David, sorry. That's why Habits for Health works so well, because we're not saying, right, at the beginning of the 12-week program, we don't give them everything on week 1 and go, right, okay, off you go. We'll give you a call in a couple of weeks and see if you've done weeks 1, 2, and 3. You know, it's little by little, it's little nuggets of things that they can do for themselves. We're just, you know, so to speak, we're just leading the horse to water and showing them how they can begin to feel better. But we're only going to do one little bit at a time. I always liken it to making a cake. You know, putting one ingredient and then you put in the next, and the result at the end of it is a wonderful cake. So us by going through Habits for Health program over 12 weeks, we're just asking a couple of hours a week from them, you know, an hour of fitness and an hour for the Habits for Health once a week for you. You know, where do we spend all our other hours for our employers, for people that need our support, whether that be friends or family? It could be somebody at work that needs your support.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
so, but how much time do we actually give to ourselves? We're really poor at self-care. And
I guess the big challenge for you guys is, which you're obviously you're very good at because you've got the data and the science, is how do we figure out an ROI on this stuff that we can give to people and go, right, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be a commercial decision, isn't it? And
Yeah.
we've got to figure out what that looks like.
Completely. So that business leaders there going, where do I spend my money? Do I spend
Yeah.
it on this new machine? Do I spend it on some new trucks or a new facility? So we wanted to make sure behind all of our tools that we've got really clear ROI. So we've got, you know, as well as when people go through that process and we do the deep dives, we've got lots of different solutions they can have. One of them is either a half day or a whole day session with Julie and I that puts in place our 2 most favourite tools that we've used throughout our combined 45 years in the health and HR industry. So the Habits for Health, which helps people to feel well. And in terms of working well, it's an amazing one called Insights Discovery. Now on the habits, which I'll talk about in a second. So in terms of the Habits for Health, that's got an ROI there. 96% of people that attended have said that they had a very, very positive impact on their health. They was able to implement it. You'll be able to see on our website, there's lots of stats there in terms of that business case of these, all the different impacts it had on that person's physical and mental well-being, that they've got that data together. On the working well side of things, it's an incredible tool called Insights Discovery. Over 10 million people have used it globally, because we understand that if you don't understand yourself and your behaviours and that of others, and how you can then take that knowledge to get closer together and make that working relationship more impactful, then that's going to massively impact on your ability to feel well at work and therefore the overall well-being of your workforce. Those working relationships are really key. So Insights Discovery looks at, it's been used by over 10 million people globally. It's a massive, great big company. They look at now, what are your chosen behavioural styles? It's a quick online questionnaire. It then gives you a 25-page personalised report saying what your preferences are, what your opposite style is, how you like to be managed, motivated, communicate with, the role that you play in a team. For sales teams as well, there's a whole nother section that looks at every single part of the sales process and how your personal style will impact that. And some little tweaks, you might, things that are well because of that, and things that you might want to change because of that, to get, you know, different results and outcomes. So it's a really comprehensive tool that we have there, and that tool has over a 2067% ROI. So indeed, who you'll know in your industry, they had 15,247, I think it was, people that had their insights discovery profiles done, and they then calculated the return on investment. And that's what they got to as their
Wow.
return on investment. So we wanted tools that, one, we've seen the personal impact of in our careers and rate highly. There's loads that we've seen, and these are the ones that we've chosen out of them, that are really easy to use. Like the insights tool breaks those behaviors down into 4 colors. It's so easy. People can remember 10 years later what their order of colors are. So there's your 4 colors. So it just breaks it down. Each of these colors relates to a behavioral style, and then you'll have an order. We're not a jelly baby, so we've got all 4 colors, and people will have different orders. So if mine's this way, my opposite type of person would have their orders that way. So how do I make sure that we don't like knock heads, and that I understand what they need from the interaction and they know what I need from the interaction, and then we come a step closer and work really effectively together. So we've got really good ROI on our products, the same as we've got a number of other tools that we're using too that are the same, and we wanted industry experts so that we could really show this is the quantifiable benefits. Ultimately, it's, do I spend my cash? I know I need to, it's the right thing to do, but do I spend my cash on this or this? And we have to articulate what that benefit is going to be, so you know you're going to get your return on your investment. And it's
It takes out the fluffiness, doesn't it? Because
completely,
this is the problem with this whole subject, like we said at the very beginning, is the fluffy, like what, it's so difficult to track these metrics because they're so complicated, and a lot of it is, mental health. Like, it's difficult to say
yeah,
what these things actually mean. So if you can quantify all of that, it makes it feel more legitimate, real, and actually worth investing into,
yes,
rather than it kind of being like a, I don't know, a bit of a hippie,
yeah,
we
yeah,
healing crystals type of deal. Although I do have some healing crystals, but I
yes,
feel like I'm not sure people would want to. It makes it. That's kind of how it's viewed at the moment, isn't it? That's the problem. So I guess a big challenge for you is overcoming that. It's not even an objection. It's kind of like a. It's just a kind of assumption or like culture of what this really means,
yeah.
and having to get round that.
Completely so. And it's put in because we've walked those shoes of those business owners, of those HR leaders being pitched up. We've managed big teams. We know how that feels. If we think about people that may be watching today, when you think about the cleaning industry, I was doing a little bit of research about the cleaning industry, and it's a growing industry. I did not realize 5% of the overall workforce is employed within the cleaning industry. And you've got, since over the last 5 years, certainly home domestic cleaning, the demand for that has gone up by 25%. And overall, in the last 3 years, in terms of offices, etc., that's gone up by 50%. So you've got a market there that's growing in terms of demand, that's growing, but the supply has reduced. So Brexit meant some of the workforce went back to their home countries, and they've exited the UK market. You've then got new products coming in that some businesses may not be able to invest in, like robotic cleaning equipment. There's a big demand, rightly so, for products that are sustainable, and they're, again, rightly so. They're going to be potentially at a higher price point than others. It's not all a price war, but you've then got a market that's growing. You're a cleaning company owner. You've got all of these different factors coming in. You've got the national insurance increase that's just coming in, all this swathe of HR legislation that's just come in, all the changes this year. And then you're scratching your head going, gosh, all people are leaving us. I can't keep up. I can't afford to compete on price. These are some, there's a lot of pressures on those people, and
Yeah.
your potential workforce are going to be saying, well, where do I go to? These all feel quite samey. I might get a bit more money here, but who's going to make me feel part of a team? Who's going to make me care? Who's going to help me grow individually as a person? Who's going to make me want to feel engaged working there? Who really cares that we haven't got leaders that are incompetent or that are bullying? It's all those different factors. That employer brand is what's going to make those people want to
For
come and
sure.
work with you. But then you're looking at this, okay, we need to help people to feel well then. Where on earth do we go? Like, the
Yeah.
market is
Yeah.
saturated with all these different providers, and you look at Instagram, and then you're like, wow, overwhelmed by all the things you should be doing.
Mm,
Well, that's why we set this up, because we couldn't.
yeah.
We wanted that solution ourselves. We were busy and stressed out trying to find workplace wellbeing support.
Mm,
But that's why we've created a home, all in one place. You can come in one end, go out the other. Your entire solution can be managed by us. We've got 45 years experience of delivering this with tools with really clear ROI, like the ones that we mentioned there.
mm,
And with all of those expert providers, so it's completely unique to your workplace. You can take that
mm,
pressure off, put that in our hands, and we can show you how investing that money is going to positively impact your business, like the business you
mm,
worked with. That transformation, that's because they showed they cared, and
mm.
that's paying massive dividends. If they continued on that trajectory, who knows whether they would have been in business.
Yeah,
Um,
no, they wouldn't have been.
so it absolutely, if you've got people that your customer loyalty is going up, your productivity is going up, like 18% is one of them, 51% turnover going down, your absence drops by 78%. If we
Yeah,
look what your absence is costing you right now, of those people showing up, it's costing you the extra cost to cover people. You're letting the customer down, or giving a not a greater clean because you've got less people to do it. Those
yeah.
your team members get hacked off, and then they leave. So you've got to then pay to cover them. It's just a very vicious
It's
circle.
very vicious.
People don't take care, then have an accident. You've then got now a
Mm,
claim that sat on your lap because they've hurt themselves, because they're rushing, or they've not got the equipment, and your profitability is just dropping at the rate of knots. So it's those people are at the heart, and if they're not cared for, your business isn't going to be
yeah,
sustainable.
they'll just go. Because but what will happen is it kind of happens like when people, um, you have a race to the bottom a little bit because,
Yeah.
like with customers, if your product's just about price, well, as soon as you might have won that customer today, but tomorrow someone cheaper than you is going to come in, and then you've lost that customer. That means nothing. The same thing happens, especially for a lot of these low-paid jobs, like you touched upon with like the cleaning industry. There, if you're a cleaner, right? If you're an actual cleaner, that's a rough job. That's a rough job. It's not good for your health. You're in weird positions all day. You're in environments which are bad for you. They pay really badly. You have to travel to places. People treat you badly. You're not well respected by people. And a lot of the companies, I work with have got workforces of like 1,000 cleaners. Like they've got 1,000 people like that, and their turnover of staff is just monumental. And the problems that they have just with the absence, like someone's going, "I'm not doing this today," like, or being spoken to badly by a customer or whatever it might be, is huge. And I see these guys talking, and that's just for cleaners, like just one group of people. And I was speaking to one of these guys the other day, a company that actually makes cleaning tools, but they're very specific cleaning tools for like small areas, like washrooms, not like big warehouses, but like little washrooms. And they're the only ones that make these small little tools. And he says, with the companies that we work with, they end up having a much lower turnover of cleaners because the cleaners love these tools. It makes their life easier. It doesn't hurt their back to use it. It doesn't. It's quicker. They can get their job done, and they know if they go elsewhere, they're not going to have these tools, and the job's going to be harder for them. So that's just changing one thing: the tools that they use in the job. Let alone if you took care of them in a bunch of other ways as well. How would that impact your retention? How would that impact your everything in there? And it would be you couldn't even calculate it, but it'd be absolutely huge. And all these companies, same with anyone who's looking for low skilled workers. Why should they stay with you and why should they join you? You can't compete on salary. You're not going to be able to pay more than everybody else, so you're not going to be able to do that. So you've got to be able to do something that's going to want to do it. And I think what you guys are doing here is one of those really out of the box tools that actually is not. It shouldn't be out of the box. It should be standard. But if you can implement it in your business, it's gonna impact everything positively in every single way. And save you more money than you could ever think about because you're not having to re-recruit roles, which is like one of the most expensive things you can do over and over and over again.
Yeah, completely. All those ways that you can then lose money through them leaving, through different accidents, through poor product quality, through those customers not staying with you. Money's just going through the floor, and so much of that links back to how engaged do those people feel? Do they want to go the extra mile? Are they going to care because you care about them? Are they going to be paying attention? Are they feeling really, that their back's hurting, so they won't do that little section, but then the customer doesn't pay you because of that? All these things, link back. So it's a massive business imperative, but we can understand, we're trying to make it straightforward for businesses. We understand it's hard to get great solutions all in one place with reputable providers. Where do you even start? And that's why we created our business, to be able to help to make those lives easier for those business owners. There's so many challenges, or the massively overworked HR leaders and CEOs. They're just swamped, and this is a specialist area, and we want to be then there to support them doing that. And we are taking that kind of multifaceted approach because it is an ecosystem. How people feel and how they perform at work and how well they feel, it is all because of that whole ecosystem. Giving me a piece of free fruit on a Friday won't help if I'm doing 20 extra hours that week, or my teammates haven't turned up because they're feeling fed up. It won't help me. So we kind of look at we've got a little formula almost that we put together for our years of experience, and it's kind of, if people have that self-awareness of how they impact others and how they can maximize their relationships, that there is a culture of belonging. So people really feel part of it. They feel valued. They understand the bigger picture. They know the role that they play and how important it is, and valued their role that they perform. If people then have those strong habits for health, because we know if you don't feel healthy, that you're not going to be able to perform at your best. So what can we do to help that? Now, of course, some people are going to have long-standing conditions that are going to be a real challenge. So we've got providers that are there to help them, because it's okay us saying, oh, you can do all these things and you'll feel well. Yes, the majority will, but there'll be some people that will be going through cancer treatment, for example, or have got long-term acute conditions. So one of our partners is specifically focused on helping put bespoke plans together for people with those health conditions. So if you've got all those things, the self-awareness, the culture of belonging, great habits for health, but then if you take out all those barriers to organisational success, so where are all those things when we have to have 10 people signing something off to get it agreed, or the new staff members are not trained, they're given their kit and they don't know what they're doing, or they don't get their uniform for 3 weeks, so they're cleaning properties in their own clothes, getting their own clothes damaged. What are all these things that your people will then tell us about, that we can make those changes, remove those barriers? And that solution equals good workplace well-being, because it's not one part of the jigsaw, it's all of it coming together, which is what we've created that home, because we recognize it is a whole big picture, but it's about you and your company and what's unique to you to have that USP. What is your USP? Why should they come to you rather than cleaning company over there?
Yeah.
Why?
One of the things I learned from that company, from that story earlier, is that they're not the best. This is another thing. They're not the best payers, and a lot of their staff could go elsewhere and get paid more, but they don't, because if you're getting paid badly now and there's no other reason to stay, then some money is going to make you leave. But if you're paid not that great now, but you're looked after in so many different other ways, even for an extra 5-10 grand, whatever, I'm not going to get all these other things. And sure, some people would still leave, but my God, you would reduce that massively.
Yeah.
So then you get out of this thing where of having to be super competitive with salaries all the time. You don't necessarily have to be. You just have to have other things around it, which help with that.
Yeah, completely.
So there's the whole thing. People want to be happy, right, at their work. And I think if you show people how they can be happy, the money, not for every single person, but for a lot of people, is going to be less important. It's so funny, as a recruiter, this is one thing that a lot of companies fall into a trap with, and so do a lot of recruiters as well. Every single workplace study that's been done on why people join new companies, money's not even in the top 5. Money's like number 6 or 7. I barely ever talk about. I recruit salespeople, and money is something I really don't go on about that much. It's about the other things, because people are actually motivated by other things: happiness, freedom, growth, change, autonomy. There's lots of other things that actually really motivate people more than money.
Yes.
Really. But we all assume that it's money, but it's
No,
not.
it isn't. No, it isn't. And you don't get all theoretical. But like if you think of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you've got like at the bottom, it's safety, it's food, water, it's shelter, it's the safe. I feel safe. And if people don't feel safe at their place of work, then however many millions of pounds you want to throw at them, they're just not going to do it because everything will be screaming. There's all those different, those real base solid. Am I being given equipment that could potentially injure me? Why on earth would I want to work here? So all these things kind of build up to right at the top of that table. You've got people that are kind of understanding skills they didn't even know that they had and are making a massive impact for themselves and their organisation. It's called like self-actualization, but it's you're understanding what's that truest, best version of you with skills that someone's helped you to untap that's able to bring massive value to yourself and others. So all these different parts, all kind of build up a picture. And one of the biggest influences, and again, there's stats on the back of this. This is Gallup, that they've found that a manager influences 70% about how a team member feels about their workplace. 70% of how you feel is how your manager makes you feel. But because of all these challenges and everyone's so busy, managers only spend on average 7% of their time with their people. So the one thing that's going to make the biggest impact, you're giving them the least amount of time with that person, and you're not training people, you're promoting them to managers and thinking they're going to have a microchip put in their head about now how to lead people because you're not giving them training because the training budget's got.
Not many people are natural leaders, but just naturally. Like some people are born that way and they have it, or maybe they were they managed a sports team or they were captain of a sports team or something like that where they've had that experience prior. But most people, like you say, especially in sales, oh, who's the one making the most money? Oh, it's Jim. All right, Jim's the next manager, and it's like that's not how that should work, really.
No, exactly. Then poor Jim's really stressed out and the team is stressed out and now people are not performing. They're like, what's happened to Jim? Oh, can he not be bothered? Did he take his eye off the ball? No, you've set Jim up to fail and the team, because if Jim is failing, then the team are going to fail because 70% of how they feel at work is about how they feel about Jim. If he's biting their heads off because he's feeling really stressed out and had no support, that's what happens. And again, the recent survey impact found that it's that middle management group that are feeling crushed. They are the fastest growing burnout group that are out there because they are just getting pulled and pushed in every direction. They're not being invested in. They're not having the training put into them. And then there's really clear ROI about the benefits of doing that, because it's that group that are struggling the most with their mental health. Because they're just getting, they get like crushed in the middle of the sandwich, aren't they?
They are, but both ends. A lot of people find themselves in management because it's just the next step.
Yeah.
Like, where do I go from here? And I don't want to stop not growing anymore. So where do I go? Well, sometimes that's the only place you can go.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like management changes the whole dynamic of everything in your life, right? It's kind of like, I've not had kids yet, but you start going from not having kids to having kids. Like, it's going to change a lot. You're now responsible for other people, and other people can be frustrating and emotional, and they have needs and all these things that we're talking about here. Your whole life's going to change going into that thing. Is it for you? Maybe you need a bit of self-awareness or something that gives you some insights into giving you is this really for me? Could I do it? And if I can, what do I need to succeed, really?
Yeah.
Because it just being the next step isn't probably shouldn't be the driving factor. You should want to do something like that, for something more than it just being the next thing.
Completely. And it's tools like this that helps with that, because it understands what's going to light you up and what's the thing that's you're going to enjoy the least. It's not about capability. You can do all these things. I could act like that if I wanted to. And I can't, of course I can, but that's not my natural home. That's not my preference. So what's going to really appeal to me? And as a leader, we've got whole leadership programs that we can deliver based on this too, that helps leaders to realize that, because they play such a pivotal role in helping people have great workplaces. And then of course, like the Habits for Health tool that Julie mentioned there, people understanding then how they can make the most of the health, so that they're kind of not having habits that are then causing them to be really exhausted, and not able to focus and concentrate or do their job to the physical ability that they may need to. All these things, they're all part and parcel. That's why we've got the two elements joined. You won't see many organisations out there that are bringing together those worlds of HR and health. But if we're a whole person, people are whole people, then we need to think. We can't say, you know, that those things are disconnected. If you work well, you feel well, and vice versa.
Sure. Well, I really appreciate what both of you are doing. I think if more companies took this on board, it would change everything about their companies and make it. There is no negatives here. Like, what's the drawback? There can't be any negatives for doing something like this. It's just going to cost you a bit of money, but you're going to see the ROI is going to be so much you can't even calculate if you do it correctly.
Yeah.
So, I think it's really interesting that you guys come from different areas but complement each other so well. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about how you make some awesome transformations. But what's the best way for people listening to reach you if they're interested to learn more?
Yeah, well, we can put into the descriptions when it goes out, kind of a links to our LinkedIn pages. We've got our website, it's www.team-wellness.co.uk, and there's contact forms on there. There's our telephone numbers on there, email addresses on there. So all of our contact information is there. People can then sign up to our newsletter as well, and then get information on that formula that we spoke through, and some little changes, because all this is not making massive monumental changes on day one. That's just too much for people's culture. It's what those 1% habits in business and in your health that you can make that take you to that end result based on your budget and your needs right now. What is it that you've got, and what are those changes we can make? Some of these things may cost you nothing. The feedback people give you may cost zilch to make, but that's made a colossal impact to them because they've been listened to, and you've acted on that where you could act on that, and they feel valued. And all of it is people feeling valued. They want to come to work, do a great job, feel valued, feel cared for, feel respected and safe at work. And those are not pink and fluffy things.
And they'll reciprocate, right? They'll reciprocate is the main thing. Like if you ever had someone in your life who just keeps giving to you, what do you feel like you have to do back?
Yeah,
you feel like you have to give to them back. You feel guilty, like you're like, I really need to give someone something here.
Yeah,
and that will happen. But the problem in the workplace, so I speak to everybody about, they just don't feel like they're being given anything, and then it's like the disengagement you're talking about. Why should I care?
It's 90% of people disengaged. I'll do my minimum. I'll keep my head down. I won't go above and beyond.
Keep my head down.
You don't for me, I won't for you. You don't care about me, I won't care about you. And that's how it's getting. And then it will destroy businesses.
It has to start with the company too. It has to start there. You can't just put that on the employees. Like the culture has to come from you.
Yeah.
From the top.
Right? From the top. It can't be just we're going to hire better people and those people will make the business better. They will, but they also need the tools from you to be able to do that from everybody else. Like, otherwise, like you say, they'll just keep their head down and be like, I'm just going to do the bare minimum, make sure I don't cause any trouble, and just
left alone.
Left alone. No one wants that in their life. Like, that's a nightmare. No one wants that for themselves. But no, it's a fascinating subject, and thank you both. It's been really awesome speaking with you.
And having us.
You're welcome. It's and we'll do it again sometime when in a year or so, when you've got some really big examples of people who have completely changed their organisations. It'd be interesting to get some of that ROI, but in as an example of how that's really worked. So we'll do it again.
Yeah, and we'll bring that customer with us, because it's important.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You're hearing how that business has transformed, and you're a business owner, then that's really impactful to understand. Business leaders, business leader, this is what I could be receiving too.
Yeah.
I don't think changes I can make.
Heard those, have they? People don't know any examples. They can't imagine what it would look like and how it would change everything. I think that's a big problem with this, isn't it? So that would be awesome. Bring somebody on who's been through it, and they can talk about it and what it's changed for them. And I think that'd be really awesome. But thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Contact us. We'd love to help transform your workplaces too. So get in touch with us.
Do it.
Thank you very much.
It makes sense. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.